everyone, welcome. Today we're discussing America's Seed Fund powered by NSF. So this is NSF, the National Science Foundation Seed Fund. This is the SBIR STTR program. And today's webinar is about how to apply with a full proposal and the proposal submission tips. So our funding is up to $1.5 million in seed funding. We start off at $225,000 at the phase 1, move to $750K at the phase 2, and then there can be a variety of supplements that can add up to about $1.5 million in total across the phase 1, phase 2B, and supplemental funding. Important to note is we take 0% equity. So when you get money from the National Science Foundation, this is early stage capital that does not take any portion of equity in your company, and it is not a loan for you to repay. So this is grant funding through the taxpayers, through the government, and the National Science Foundation. For the process overview, there's several steps to submit to NSF. There's submitting a project pitch, which you've already done, receive an invitation to submit a full proposal, which again, everybody on this webinar has probably already received. And then registering your company. We'll go into what those registrations are. It's a good idea to do those earlier because sometimes there's a little bit of a lead time. Then you can review the solicitation to see what we're looking for and the details on preparing a proposal. Then step 5, which you might want to go to in depth if this is an open Q&A session when you're watching this webinar, to ask the program directors for more information, is what to really focus on in preparing your proposal, as that's where most of the time probably goes here. Submit your proposal before 5 p.m. on December 12th. That is the deadline for this open solicitation window. Please keep in mind that since we are in open solicitation windows, if you submit earlier, we can start reviewing your proposal earlier. We can potentially get back to you earlier. And if December 13th rolls around and you haven't yet submitted for the prior deadline, we are anticipating opening a subsequent window shortly after December 12th. So it's very much open windows where we're accepting proposals on a rolling basis. So the funding phase, as I've mentioned briefly, is phase 1. So this is really feasibility research, that proof of concept. That's typically 6 to 12 months, and that's $225,000. The phase 2 is research towards a prototype. That's 2 years, and that is $750K. And then, as I said, there are supplements which include the phase 2B, which can be, upon invitation, a match of up to $500K. So if you bring in third-party investment funds or sales, up to $1 million could be eligible for a 50% match, which would be up to an additional $500,000. So the project pitch, this is the quick feedback on whether what you have as an idea for your company might be a fit for the National Science Foundation Seed Fund funding. And for everybody on the call today or the webinar, you most likely have already received an invited project pitch, so congratulations. We're very much looking forward to receiving your proposal, so please do apply. So you're invited to submit a proposal, and you're probably thinking, now what? For most applicants, this is their first time and potentially the only time that they're coming to the National Science Foundation for funding, because many of our companies are commercially successful and they move beyond NSF funding to the markets pretty quickly. So if you haven't been through this before, what are the steps of the process you need to focus on? Well, first off, be sure to register your company. As I've mentioned, there are 4 registrations. This is the DUNS registration, the System for Award Management, SAM, research.gov, and the Small Business Administration Company Administration. Some of these have a bit of a lead time, so again, good to get on it early on. So there's a 2-step process for the application system. So you want to register in research.gov, but please note SBIR and STTR proposals are not accepted in research.gov. You also are going to then want to get into FastLane, which is where you will prepare and upload your proposal. So register in research.gov and then submit in FastLane. On our website, you'll also see there are the SBIR and STTR solicitations. This contains all the information, very detailed information about how to prepare and submit your proposal. So you'll notice there's the SBIR solicitation and the STTR solicitation. These solicitations are similar, but they're based on if you have a sub-awardee that is performing a significant percentage of the work on the award. That percentage of the work on the award determines whether you'd be applying under the SBIR or the STTR solicitation. Everything you need to prepare that proposal, the bulk of that is in Section 5. So you see there's introduction, there's program descriptions, award information, eligibility, lots of different sections, but that core of what you're putting together in your proposal is really in that Section 5. So to give you an overview of what we're looking for, this is the 15 pages of your project description of typical elements, so the elevator pitch, commercial opportunity, innovation, company and team, and then technical discussion and R&D plan. So hopefully the information in this proposal is what you're building out already to focus on how to build out your business and the opportunity of the project. So this should be more core planning than you can leverage than hopefully having to pull together additional work for a proposal to NSF. So back to these core elements, the elevator pitch, similar to an elevator pitch you would have in pitching what your company is trying to do. If you're talking to customers, if you're talking to investors, this is the first impression, and it's a summary of why what you're doing is important and differentiated, the value proposition. Reviewers will refer to this, so take the opportunity to get this value proposition across. On the commercial opportunity, we realize that for many of your companies and projects, this is very early, and we expect this will evolve over the course of the work. But this is an opportunity to show us your understanding of the market, how big the opportunity would be, how to access it, interactions with the market, learnings with the market, any traction you've had with potential customers, and how you think through the potential to grow a business. On the innovation side, we want to see what's differentiated and the competitive advantage of your approach over what is the state-of-the-art and or what's available today in market. So rather than just explaining technical and performance improvements, you should also help us see how your proposed technical advantages translate to value and real problems solved in the market and implementation. So why is this innovation so meaningful? Keep in mind, technical reviewers will want to see details on how your innovation works so that they can assess the advantages or how it might compete in the market. So the company and team, this is an opportunity to share your team's expertise, capabilities, how you're thinking about this, what you all bring to developing the solution and achieving success in the market. You can address the level of commitment and engagement of members of your team. And keep in mind, since not all startups have all skills in-house at the beginning of these projects, you may mention if there are external advisors or other resources you're working with in addition to attain access to critical capabilities and expertise. Technical discussion and R&D plan. NSF funds the technical work on your project. This is what the budget goes to. So this section really explains what your plan is for the use of funds. It usually helps if the technical plan is focused on maximum de-risking of the technology and attaining proof of concept under the time and scope of the phase 1. So what are those most critical first steps of the work that are most meaningful? Technical reviewers, again here, will want to see technical depth to be able to review the merit of the work you're proposing and the feasibility of the approach along with your quality of planning. So as you're presenting all of these sections, it's really worth thinking, if I were discussing this opportunity with a technical expert, with a customer, with an investor, with somebody who's familiar with the market or what some of the opportunities could be from the technology or market standpoint, what are the critical questions that they might have and what do they need to know to see why this is compelling? So again, the information on what you need in the proposal, including the budget and supplementary documents, those are found in Section B. In those supplementary documents, it's worth noting that there's an opportunity to add commercial letters, and this can be a very important part of the proposal. So in the commercial letters, really, if you have the ability to bring in those strong letters of interest or traction, why your approach is important, why it might be differentiated in market, what the letter writer's role is in the industry, in the market, to be able to understand why what you're doing is important, why it's advantaged. Those are key elements that can really help with those commercial letters, which are primarily to show why something matters or could be de-risked from the market standpoint. The budget is an opportunity to show us how you think about most effective use of resources, and also an opportunity to have the high levels of team engagement to the extent it makes sense. And in your proposal, if you have lower time on budget for team contributions in terms of people time versus materials, if people are spending additional time that's not on budget to do the work, you probably want to spell that out clearly in the team section, or also refer to it in the budget justification explanation. So for the proposal submission, you want to use FastLane. If you have any questions, you can look online in terms of how to do that, or contact the FastLane user support desk. The number there is in that yellow box, 1-800-673-6188. Timelines, as we mentioned, this particular submission window will close December 12th, but again, we anticipate that these windows will be open very frequently, so we'll most likely be opening a window right after that. So in the first 1 to 3 months, applications undergo merit reviews. 4 to 6 months from your submission, we'll notify you whether your proposal is accepted or declined. 5 to 6 months, if your proposal is accepted, you'll receive funding of up to $225,000 for that phase 1. And like I said, this is a rolling submissions, and if you get it in earlier, we can hopefully respond to you quite a bit earlier. So we are not waiting until December 13th to review these. We are receiving them on a rolling basis. So many important links for applicants, and then the FastLane guide, FAQ, a lot of the common questions are there. For the review criteria on the intellectual merit, is your project innovative with a new and differentiable approach that will solve a significant problem? Is there significant technical risk requiring R&D to achieve the proof of concept? For the broader impacts, what are the broader impacts of the work? If your work has broader beneficial impact to society, you should mention that. Keep in mind that small business growth in itself is in fact a meaningful broader impact, so that might be the area that you choose to highlight if others aren't relevant. But there may also be others that should be brought up if your company is competitively advantaged for those other societal benefits. On commercial impact, make sure that the market, customers, and value proposition is identified. Show that the company and team is suited to aggressive commercialization. Show your sustainable competitive advantage and credible business model, and show how NSF funding will move the needle so that this is meaningful work at the early stage and helps you in your commercialization. In panel, as the merit review process is assessing these merits, it's often helpful to think through the following questions. With regards to potential, why is what you're doing disruptive and impactful? What things can you share that indicate the team will be able and committed to deliver on the opportunity and make that potential real? And then what is the competitive advantage, and how and why will you win in market and be in a meaningful solution in the market? So reminders, registrations take time. You can read the FastLane guide for help submitting your proposal, and call FastLane with any technical issues. It's always a good idea to give yourself extra time in putting in the submission. And at this point, we just want to thank you for your interest. We're very much looking forward to receiving your full proposals. And if this is a webinar with an active Q&A session, I would encourage you to take the opportunity to ask the program directors specifically about areas such as the merit review, what panelists look for in panel, and if you have any questions for what really needs to come across in the individual elements of the proposal. Good luck with your proposal. We're really excited to see your innovations and your small business plans and growth for startups.